welcome back to my YouTube channel. It is your girl Zakiyyah and I'm back with another video. So guys, today this is a little bit of a different video. I'm literally just going to get straight into it. So I thought I'd give my opinion just on a few ways that I feel like the black community could overcome racism. I wouldn't refer to myself as a YouTuber, but seeing as I'm a person that does YouTube and I do hold some influence in people's lives, I never want to distract people. Like, yes, I like to entertain, but I'm not here to distract, and I want to make that very clear, because I feel like a lot of your favorite YouTubers, a lot of your influencers, unfortunately, this is like what, a month since George Floyd has passed and nobody's talking about it. It's kind of dying down, and that's not what we want. We don't want to have to go through another death to bring the situation back up to light. We need to keep it trending so that we could get justice. The only way change comes about and is when people feel uncomfortable or when people feel angry. That's when people are most motivated to be like, you know what, we need to do something about it. So I definitely feel like we need to give and divert more attention to the Black Lives Matter movement, because shit's still happening. There's still institutions that breed racism that are still up and running like nothing happened. They need to be rewiring a lot of institutions, and I'm literally going to touch on that a little bit. So the first problem that I feel like, or the first area which is significant to racism and to contributing to the oppression of black people, is the education system. Now, for those of you that don't know, I'm from the UK, and I feel like when it came to educating, came to Black History Month in schools, we constantly learn about the same thing. Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Rosa Parks. These are the three names that is in the top of my head, because that is what they teach when it comes to black history. And I'm not saying that these people haven't done amazing things, because they have, and they're very significant to the position that I'm in today. However, if you're going to teach about black history, don't leave out the black inventors that invented the refrigerator. Don't leave that out. There's so much more and there's so much deeper to my history that you choose to leave out. And the question is why? That's the question. If you're going to talk about black history, make sure you talk about all of it. Don't just give us a little fraction, because there was so many inventions that black people have made over the last 60 years that gets dusted under the carpet simply because the fact that they are black, and that needs to stop. If you're pushing for slavery when it comes to black history, they're going to believe that this is all they have been, this is all their ancestors have been through. They're gonna think that their ancestors haven't actually achieved anything, and they're not worthful. Like, the education system needs to be rewritten, especially when it comes to things like languages. When I was in secondary school, when it came to GCSE times and choosing a language, the main languages was French, Spanish, and I think there was one where you could do German. And when you think about it, I don't personally feel like it's fair, and I feel like it's very degrading that the only languages that we have as a choice to learn and study in school is European languages, because it almost, I feel like unconsciously, it makes the black child think that their culture is not worth being studied and receiving a qualification for, and that's very, very sad. I was actually having a conversation. She tried to open my mind and let me see a little bit of a different perspective, and what she said was that the reason why perhaps they don't focus on teaching other languages, for example Yoruba or Tree, in the UK, is because those languages aren't going to benefit you, in the sense that if you put on a job application that you speak English and Tree is not really credited as much as French. And I was trying to explain that is the problem. The fact that Tree and Yoruba is not put on the same pedestal, is not on the same level as French or German, that is the issue. Why is it that if I have on my job application, I speak English and I speak my native tongue, so for example, if I speak English and Patois, Creole, and another black person has on their job application they speak English and German, why is it more likely that they're going to get the job? It's simply because European languages, they're put on a higher pedestal, and that is unconsciously, I feel like it affects black children in school, because it makes us feel like our languages are not worthy. It's like the same thing with history lessons. A lot of black people, a lot of black children in history lessons, they're not interested about King Henry VIII. They're not interested. I feel like, yes, we live in the UK, so it's important to study British history, but black people contributed and had a very big impact on British history, and we're not discussing it. Why? Why are we not discussing it? Even when it comes to things like the Windrush generation, should be in the British curriculum. When it comes to history and the UK, I personally feel like the Windrush generation should be a part of the curriculum. If you don't know what that is, then do your research and take 5 minutes to go research what it is. They had a massive impact on the UK. They took up so many jobs and it's not mentioned. I don't feel like black people are getting the credit that they deserve at all. And if we're going to talk about British history, then let's talk about all of Britain. Let the curriculum explain what Great Britain has done and what Europeans have done to other countries. Let them explain how they conquered America and killed off the Native Americans. Let them explain how they killed off Aboriginal Australians. Let them explain everything. I feel like the curriculum is designed to create Great Britain as being this country that is so fair and that we're so great. You guys are great because of the murders and the homicides that you have committed. You guys killed off races. Deep it, they actually killed off a whole race and got away with it. So I personally feel like the education system is a massive part of the foundations of racism in our society, and it needs to get sorted out. Another problem I feel like we have is the medical fields. Personally, from what I see, when it comes to diseases that predominantly affect black people, for example sickle cell, nobody talks about it. Why is it that the same amount of research and the same amount of money is not put into diseases such as sickle cell that affect black people? Ask yourself, sickle cell was a disease that affected all white people. Do you think the amount of funding and the amount of research would be more? Because I definitely believe it would be more. I feel like the government needs to start putting funding into conductive research of diseases that affect the black communities, because I don't personally feel like we're putting enough effort into that sector. That's just my opinion. I'm studying biomedical science, and honestly I really hope one day to work for a company that do support my life and that do look and invest into looking into diseases that affect my people. I feel like it needs to be done. That's a massive change that needs to happen, because there's a lot of diseases and stuff that are killing black people that nobody's talking about. Another point I want to make, this is a little bit of a controversial one, but I definitely feel like it does need to be addressed. I just want to make it clear that this is literally my opinion. You might not think the same, and that is completely fine. I do definitely feel like we need to talk about interracial dating. Personally, as a black young woman, I personally feel like I don't have a problem with people that are dating outside of their race. I literally have no issue with it. Do what makes you happy. If a person makes you happy and they're not from your race, then by all means do what makes you happy. However, for me personally, I find it hard to understand how a white woman will be able to support her husband, who is a black man, going through such traumatic events and then raise black children. Because if this woman is not aware of the oppression that her children face, she's going to teach her children that you're equal just like any other child, and that child's going to go through so much in his life thinking that he's not worth it, when really in reality there's oppression that he is experiencing himself. Or that child is now going to go on to believe that if he, for example, went for a job interview and he has all the right qualifications and he doesn't get the job on countless times, that child is going to now start to think that he's not worthy. Little does he know that it's due to the fact of the color of his skin. So it's like, I just feel like it's very tricky when it comes to couples that date outside of their race. I just want to make a disclaimer, I am not against it, but for me personally, I would find it hard to date out of my race, simply because I don't feel like they will be able to understand my struggle and see eye to eye. I just find it very funny also that if a black woman says this, if I'm deemed as an angry black woman, or I'm deemed as someone that's racist, but when Jewish people make it very clear to their children that they're not allowed to date out of their race, or when they're within the Asian community, because I've got quite a few Asian friends that tell me that their parents would never allow them to date out of their race, when that's being said, why are Asian people not seen as race way? But when it's a black woman to now say, I personally feel like black men should date within their race, we're just jealous or we're just angry. No, that's not the case. I'm literally just gonna finish it off here, guys, because I know I've been talking for so long. But yeah, one thing I want to say as well is I definitely feel like the black community within ourselves, we have a lot of problems. If we're going to be pushing the Black Lives Matter movement, make sure you're not turning your own people against each other, because a lot of people that are pushing Black Lives Matter movement, they're the same people that will be and saying dark-skinned women are uglier than light-skinned women. They're the same people that will be saying Africans versus Caribbeans. So it's like, if we're going to now push for this movement, let it be known that within our own communities we are secure and we know who we are. How do you expect the white man to take us serious if we're not even taking ourselves serious? Like, think about it. Also, when it comes to things like hair textures, like a lot of people will be like, people that have full C hair is deemed as less beautiful than women that have looser curls and that have 3A hair. But referring to a black woman's hair as being nappy, as being undesirable, that needs to stop. And it happens a lot. It happens a lot. I feel like in order for us to make change, we need to start within our own communities, and we need to be secure. We need to start pushing for black businesses. We need to support each other. That's the only way we're gonna make it out. Like, it's getting ridiculous at this point. It really is. Honestly, the small things count. Even when it comes to things like, if you see another black girl today walking on the street, smile at her. Just smile at her. Give her a compliment. If you see a black girl and her hair's out and her hair looks good, tell her, sis, your hair looks good today. It's the little things that count, because I don't see white people pinning other white people against each other because of the color of their skin, or because of the shade of their skin, or the curliness of their hair. I don't see that happening. So I feel like it's time to break down barriers, and it's time to push and make a change. Anyway, guys, I've been talking for a minute. I really hope that you guys learned something. I do want to entertain. I've got another banger video coming out tomorrow, hopefully, but I literally just don't want to be here to distract anyone from the true cause, because there's a lot of distracting going on right now in this world, and I don't want to be a part of it. I want to be true to myself and true to you guys too. So this is literally my opinion. If you disagree, then I don't care. But yeah, bye guys.